Okay, can we get a motion to award that bid, please?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion to award the water treatment plant slow sand filter resanding project to Big River Construction in the amount of $579,900.
A second.
It's late.
Is there a motion, a second, please?
Yes.
There was, Mr. Mayor. Still there.
There was a second.
Second.
Thank you, Counselor. So we've got a motion to award a bid to Big River Construction for the, let's see, for
Slow sand filter
slow
reset.
sand filter resanding project. Big River Construction, $579,900. Is there any discussion? Any further discussion?
Thank you, Lance.
Anything? Okay. Let's try this one more time, Alyssa. Go ahead and poll the council, please. It's a lot of money.
I'll try to mix it up. Counselor Hook.
Yes.
Counselor Quigley.
Yep.
Counselor Patty.
Yes.
Counselor Ort.
Yes.
Counselor Mullen.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank
Okay,
you, appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, any staff commission reports tonight? None. Presentations, comments from the public? Anything? Business from the city manager. Keith?
I want to give the library director an opportunity to talk about the upcoming book sale. So,
Okay.
So this Thursday, Friday, Saturday is the Friends of the Library sale. They do an amazing amount of support for us at the library, and I hope you guys will come visit their sale. They have the container about 2/3 of the way full, so there should be a lot of books. So, and if you're interested in helping, let me know.
Okay, thank you, Jenna.
What about the food for fines? That's important.
This week is also Food for Fines, so patrons can pay off their library fines, overdue fines, with a can of food is $1, so it needs to be an unexpired, not dented can of food, and that is, we'll take $1 off their overdue fines. We cannot pay for like lost books and special fines that way, but last time we took in about a little less than 400 pounds of food for the food bank.
Nice.
And so all food will go to the Stayton Food Bank.
Is there a limit per patron?
There is a $20 limit per patron.
Yeah, all right.
You may or may not.
$20 limit per patron.
Get a case discount?
Anything else, Keith, this
no,
evening?
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I have one more item under
Okay, go ahead,
business
please.
from the manager, if I may. And that is, as you know, the city is in the process of developing some economic development strategies. There is currently a public opinion survey out on SurveyMonkey. There is a link available from the City Planning Department webpage to get there. And I also want to invite you and everyone listening in the audience at home to open house discussion about the report from the consultants, which will be on April 18th in the evening in the city library meeting room.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have nothing else this evening. Business from the council.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
from time to time, we all get tripped up in processes up here at the dais, trying to figure out what is out of line, what's in order, following Robert's rules, which I think we probably all know a little bit about, but not enough to operate sometimes. Having said that, I had a wise attorney once offer me some guidance to determine what Robert Rules of Order are and figure out how to really make it work for us. So I brought that piece of literature in for all of us to see, and I asked that Alyssa and the city maybe purchase several copies of those so we can have them on hand and we can all come together as a team and make the process a little smoother. So I have it down there. Anyone wants to borrow it, by all means you can have it. I've read it probably 4 times now, and I'm still not figuring out what I'm doing.
Can I get it on tape from the library? Mr. Mayor, I need to listen to it in my car. Mr. Mayor, so
Everybody gets to talk most of the time. Go ahead.
I'll take it. So the gentleman that came up and was asking about the trails, and I apologize, Robert's rules, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to talk about it, but I'm going to. It was my understanding that we changed the course, that it wasn't going behind houses. Am I misunderstanding that?
You are not misunderstanding that.
Okay.
The plan that was submitted, well, the plan that was submitted to the Planning Commission is only for a trail along the Salem Ditch. It is on the south side of the Salem Ditch, starting at North Evergreen, and at some point that the exact place has not yet been determined, the proposal is for a bridge across the Salem Ditch, and then it will proceed on the north side of the Salem Ditch several hundred feet to West Washington Street. Partly, the plan that was submitted to the Planning Commission was for what I just described, and not behind the houses on Larch Ave, because the Planning Commission and site plan approval is only required for that portion of the trail that's within 50 feet of the Salem Ditch. It went to the Planning Commission under the requirements for site plan approval because of our natural resource overlay district that is along the Salem Ditch and is only 50 feet wide either side of the ditch. Outside of that overlay district, there is no requirement for site plan approval. That being said, the current plan of the Rotary Club is to not extend the trail behind the houses on Larch Avenue.
Okay. So is the gentleman that was here, are his concerns not really concerns because are they not applicable? What he's talking about? I just, so, well, no, I'm sorry, I didn't say that correct.
His concerns
So,
are always applicable.
no, they are, and okay, so I apologize. So what I mean to say is it a moot point because they're not going behind there? Obviously the trails are supposed to be for public enjoyment and for our community members, and if there's, you know, if this is like upsetting the community members around there because there's a miscommunication, then I think that should be addressed.
The gentleman who spoke this evening does not live on Larch Avenue. He lives on West Washington Street.
Yeah, so
I'm not quite sure that I know exactly which house is his, but I believe that he's on the north side of West Washington Street, but I may be wrong about that. So I don't want to say that his concerns are not valid or not applicable. His
I didn't mean not
concerns are
valid.
his concerns.
Yes.
And my answers earlier this evening were discussing the land use process and the Planning Commission's decision. That being said, the council has a role in the policy of whether we have a trail there or not. The previous council voted for the city to accept an easement for public access from NORPAC. That easement has not been executed, been delivered, been accepted and recorded yet. I certainly don't want to sound like I'm encouraging the council one way or the other on this, but the city has an adopted trails plan that this is implementing.
Okay.
The previous council did authorize the city manager to execute and accept the easement from NORPAC for public access. This is a project that is being done with volunteer labor and will result in a public benefit at little cost to the city. But for the natural resource overlay district requirements, would not have had any type of land use approval required.
Okay. Thank you.
What might be interesting to see how many of those incidents on the Washington Street addresses were reported the attempted car thefts and whatnot, how much of that, if any of it, was reported. We've heard other reports from, I guess, some of the Larch Street residences that sharp uptick in, let's say, criminal activity in their neighborhood, but little of it being reported, if I'm correct. Chief, can you help me with that?
Yes, I can answer that. What the gentleman was talking about was an incident that happened where we had a gentleman that was running around in that area, and he stole several different cars over several different nights. We are very aware of that. It was he was caught.
It's good to know.
Yes, many of you are probably aware of who that person was that we were dealing with. As far as the crime that was being talked about over on Larch Street, it happened a few years ago. There's been a couple here and there, but I was concerned with what he said the last time, and I did some checking of the stats of the numbers of calls that have been there compared to other places in the community, and not to discredit the crime that has happened there. All crime is bad. We don't want any crime. But since the records management system that we have goes back to 2004, and we've been collecting data since then. And I took that section of Larch and looked to see the number of calls that we've had there since 2004, and that encompasses all different types of calls. Sometimes there's some thefts, some suspicious circumstances, some are just they ask for a police officer to go as a welfare check to check on somebody. So I didn't break them down, I just looked at all of them. Just the plain numbers. And since 2004, we had about 165 calls for service on that street. Myrtle, which is the next block over, that runs the same length that Larch does, there was about 150, if I can remember right. But then I took some other streets that had similar demographics around town. All of them were through streets, just like Larch and Myrtle. None of them were high population, high pass-through streets. There's actually some streets that are used heavier than others that I didn't count those, and I tried to use those about that same amount of traffic on them. And the averages on those were several hundred more. On those streets. Some of them had 500-600 calls for service on those streets since 2004. None of them were anywhere as low as Larch and Myrtle. So while yes, they did have a few, they had some theft calls there a couple years ago. They've had nothing compared to what some of the other streets have had.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Chief, if I may, we had a discussion before. Did you have any more short-term crime statistics on those streets and similar streets to compare to, say, for a 5-year, 10-year, not just since 2004? I mean, the gentleman who came and spoke seemed like he was referring to incidents that have taken place within the last half decade. So my thought is perhaps those statistics would be more relevant to him and his situation.
So no, I did not break them down by the 5 and 10 year yet. So, but I can do that.
All right.
Okay, is there anything else tonight under business from the council? If not, we go to a public hearing on April 15th, zone map and code amendments, council rules, transportation system plan update presentation. Is there anything else? Then we are adjourned at 12 minutes past 9. Thank you, folks.